So Destiny has made it inside the building, and we'll see how long he lasts.
Because the shots are going this way?
There's a major streamer named Destiny, who's a Democratic liberal streamer. He appears to be debating Myron Gaines, who's more of a right-wing red pill guy. They're both sort of creatures of like internet trolldom, but it should be a lot of fun. You know, it's like blood sports. It's like watching a cockfight, effectively.
We love to see it, though.
We love to see it. It's great.
I want to talk about young people today, guys, because as most of you already know, the Democratic Party did not do as well as we were hoping in the 2024 election. And in particular, young men and young people as a group, they swung wildly to the right like none of us were probably expecting. Normally, young people are a pretty reliable voting bloc for the Democratic Party. Normally, we can get at least 60% of that vote. But in 2024, Kamala Harris was only able to garner 54% of that vote, which means young people moved towards Donald Trump in a way that we really haven't seen before. And I think it's important to ask ourselves, why is it that the Democratic Party doesn't have something like Turning Point USA that can go out there and recruit young people into voting for Democrats? I mean, love him or hate him, Charlie Kirk is an absolute powerhouse for the Republican Party. He is showing up on these university campuses and he is radicalizing young minds into voting for Republicans. And up until now, us on the left, we have kind of been absent in that space. Turning Point USA has pretty much gone unopposed as far back as I can remember. But that is starting to change today because there is a new organization called the Unfuck America Tour that is going to be following Charlie Kirk around and trying to peel off some of those voters. And so let's go ahead and get a quick rundown of what the Unfuck America Tour is, and then we will go from there. If you guys do appreciate my work, please do remember to subscribe.
TPUSA is a voter-driving juggernaut for the Republican Party, led by 31-year-old Charlie Kirk.
They're happy, that's why you know they haven't been on social media.
But this year's event will be menaced by something called the Unf America Tour, started by a group of progressive influencers and organisers, including the massively popular streamer Destiny.
This is the all roads lead to Rome thing, right? So he can do the exact same behavior you said that Biden couldn't get away with doing.
They want to bring progressive debate to Kirk's doorstep. But first, they have to get in.
So Turning Point has cancelled all of Unf America's credentials, and now they're trying to sneak in Destiny so he can debate inside here.
Yeah, so we now have this organization called the Unfuck America Tour, and like I said, they are going to be following Charlie Kirk around to try to peel off some of these voters. Charlie Kirk, like I said, you might hate him. He is a terrible, terrible human being, but he has been wildly effective at recruiting young people into the movement. He has been one of the main cultural building blocks of the MAGA movement. He is normalizing the idea of authoritarian government. He is normalizing the idea of these very fascistic tactics. I mean, he was just calling for our military to take over blue cities. And this is the guy that we have left unopposed for as far back as I can remember. I mean, this is the guy that shows up on university campuses. He debates unprepared college students. He clipped those up into small little videos, tries to make liberals look like a bunch of weirdos. And you might think it's stupid, but it's been effective. And I just want to put a fine point on that, because you might think going around debating college students is dumb. You might not think it adds value, but he gets people to vote. And that is the most important part of all of this.
And while he uses it to make viral content, its primary goal is to register Gen Z to vote MAGA.
I love the fact that we are now becoming we're becoming the cool kids now.
But no, I just want to be clear. Is there something wrong with talking to voters?
No, there's nothing wrong with talking.
Well, that's what we're doing here today. It's an open mic.
I think that you push a dangerous agenda.
It's a strategy that those behind Unf America say the DNC has been absent to counter.
I hate Charlie Kirk. I think he's actually a Satan spawn, but he's very, very strategically minded.
Yeah, Destiny is absolutely right. Charlie Kirk is a Satan spawn, but he's very strategically minded. And you might want to just, throw out excuses like, oh, Charlie Kirk, he's got the funding of billionaires on the right and yada, yada, yada. I don't think that's good enough. We can replicate what he is doing here, and that is exactly what the Unfuck America Tour is trying to do. We can chip in as a group to fund an organization that can counter the poisoning of young minds that is brought to you by somebody like Charlie Kirk. I just don't think it's I just don't understand how we are so far behind on this level. How is it that we let Charlie Kirk go into our country and poison young minds without any pushback at all? I mean, obviously there's pushback here and there, but there has not been a concerted effort to counter what he has actually been doing. And this next clip I have for you, I really like the way that Destiny puts this, because he's talking about the mindset of Republicans versus what we are seeing on the left. We talk a lot about politics on the left, but for the right, it is all about winning elections.
At an event organised by the Unf America crew down the street from the convention centre, both Conservatives and Liberals packed into a pub to eat chicken wings, drink beer, and watch Conservative voices try to take on Destiny.
Have you ever fired an AR-15?
Yep.
So you fired a 5.56. The mathematical odds of him surviving that are infinitesimally small.
They're infinitesimally high if it misses him or grazes his ear. I mean,
Charlie Kirk's been doing this a long time, more than 10 years. Why has it taken the left so long to catch up and still hasn't caught up?
Republicans vertically are very well integrated when it comes to making sure that they're winning elections.
Yeah.
Right? There's the people who in 2020 they thought the election was stolen in every state basically, but they still showed up to vote next time. So something is happening there where they're really big on going out and winning elections. And I think that shows at every single level, to where when people are organizing or when people are creating alternative media networks, whether you're talking Tim Pool, influencing other ones like Joe Rogan, or trying to do things with college kids like Charlie Kirk. They're making these events and they're gathering all these different people. For Charlie Kirk, it's school kids, but the single focus is winning elections. It's incredibly important. And somehow I feel like on the left, I don't know how this happened online. Maybe it's because we tend to be younger or whatever, but somehow the party's messaging apparatus, it feels like it's kind of hijacked from people by people who won't vote for your candidates, which I think is incredibly destructive.
So just think about what he's saying here. People on the left, we talk a lot about politics, but how many creators do you know that consider themselves lefties that spend at least half of their time bashing on the Democratic Party? They'll bash on Republicans too, but they kind of give it equal time. And the worst thing that they do is they'll say that Democrats and Republicans, oh, it's just pretty much the same. They're just a whole bunch of neoliberal shills, and there's not really a difference between the two. How many lefty creators do you know that actually does that? This is what he's talking about here. How is it that we have so many people on the left that have kind of hijacked the messaging? Maybe these people believe in some of the principles and some of the values that you and I believe in, but as far as electoral politics goes, they're nowhere to be found. How is it that somebody like Anna Kasparian, one of the main hosts on the Young Turks, the supposed biggest progressive news channel on YouTube, how is it possible that she comes out and admits that she didn't even vote for Kamala Harris? How is that even possible? And if you've watched any TYT at all, you'll know that they are all about tearing down the Democrats time and time and time again, and a little bit of Republicans too. And I'm not saying that we need to turn into a whole bunch of zombies that just tote the party line at every given point in time. We can still criticize, but what we are seeing on the left, like Destiny said, it's the messaging apparatus has been hijacked by a lot of these lefties who do not care about electoral politics. And I think that has been hugely, hugely damaging to our movement. We have got to elevate voices who believe in electoral politics. This is one of the main reasons that we lost in 2024. It wasn't that a whole bunch of people turned out for Donald Trump, but it was a whole bunch of people who just felt more comfortable sitting at home and not coming out to vote. That is terrible. And now we are seeing an authoritarian takeover, the likes of which we have never seen. And part of the reason is because we have these lefty creators who don't care about the electoral politics of it all at all. It is absolutely horrendous that this is the scenario that we find ourselves in. And I want to go ahead and move on to this clip from the creator of the Unfuck America tour. Her name is Z. Cohen Sanchez, I believe. Listen to how she thinks about what she's doing here.
Did the Democrats have anything like this?
Nothing. And I will say, like, Charlie Kirk is honestly one of the best organizers of our generation. And I think that, you know, as much as I disagree with Charlie Kirk, I believe that what he's doing has worked. And that's why I'm here to replicate what he's doing. I'm not here to, you know, disrupt Charlie Kirk's events. I'm here to say that there are alternative ideas and that we need to build the same thing that he has, because he is good at it.
Z. Cohen Sanchez has worked more than a decade on Democratic campaigns.
There's no reason why we can't do this. This is not very expensive to do. We have so many PACs on the Democratic side raising millions of dollars, right? We are not a big PAC. We haven't even raised $1 million yet. And we're able to get all of these creators essentially anywhere that Charlie is. And so that's what we really want the Democratic Party to do, is we want to have them to start investing in these movements.
Is the DNC supporting this?
No, not currently.
Why not?
If Ken Martin's watching this, text me back. But really, I mean, I think it's disappointing that we haven't been able to see the DNC really get off the ground since the election, because I think a lot of things have happened internally that have been distractions to the actual ground game that we need right now.
Yeah, and she's absolutely right. We need a ground game that is going to meet these people where they are. And like I said, you guys might think that online debate is silly. You might think it's stupid. You might think it's unvaluable. But a lot of these people, they enjoy it. They love the blood sports politics of it all that they get from online debate. And I think it's absolutely smart to gather up a whole bunch of these creators and follow Charlie Kirk around the country to push back against the bullshit that he is selling. We have got to be able to provide an alternative vision and narrative for this country than what Charlie Kirk is selling. We cannot just let him be the only person in this space where he just gets to poison young minds into perpetuity. That is not acceptable, because we are seeing the ramifications of what his movement has done to this country. We now have a whole bunch of young people who think it's cool to admit that there are fascists, that it's cool to admit that they enjoy the writings of Nazi philosophers and things of that nature. How? I mean, how are we here? So I think it's smart. I think it's strategic. I think it's what is needed right now in this moment, because we have got to provide an alternative to the Charlie Kirks of the world, to the Turning Point USAs of the world. We have got to be able to get in these spaces and recruit these young voters. And the last thing that I want to touch on, you guys might have seen Destiny was one of the recruits from the Unfuck America tour. And many of you guys might be thinking, well, he's a little too crazy for my taste. He goes a little too hard in the paint for my taste. And that's kind of the point I want to make here, because we need to do a better job of being a bit more flexible in our purity testing. I think we should drop purity testing, because if we are too rigid in our beliefs, and if we just start kicking people out who are not in 100% alignment with the movement, we are just shooting ourselves in the foot over and over and over again. And that is kind of what they talk about here.
No, our motto is, when they go low, we go high.
For Destiny, it's a ground game that must reflect the online culture he and millions of young Americans are part of, one that is often characterized by un-PC language, insults, and crude humor, like this tweet Destiny sent poking conservatives by saying the kids who died in the Texas floods were proof that God doesn't exist.
The tweets you sent about the kids in Texas would probably disqualify you, or would probably have somebody in the upper levels of the Democratic Party say, okay, we'll never work with this guy again.
Yeah.
Do you regret sending those tweets?
I think they have to get over it. I don't regret them. I love poking the bear on the right. I feel like Republicans are so good at owning the space. Republicans do this thing where they say, comedy's legal again and we can joke about anything. But when they say anything, they really just mean like immigrants and black people, right? Because if you make fun of anything on their side, they lose their minds.
I guess is your point that, always trying to take the high ground is clearly not working for Democrats?
One of the things that conservatives stumbled into accidentally, because I think Donald Trump's an idiot, even politically, but they stumbled into this thing where people started to get confused because of what the right and left looked like. And I think they think that you need an extremist platform in order to win elections. But what you really need, I think, is just extremist messaging. I think that's what you need.
So we've all heard the adage, right? Michelle Obama, they go low, we go high. But as most of you can probably see, that is not working today. That is not a strategy that is going to be successful moving forward. And I'm not saying, I want everybody to be clear on this. I'm not saying we throw trans people under the bus. I'm not saying we bring racist language back. We can still hold our principles. We can still hold our values. But as far as the rhetoric and the language surrounding some of these issues, I think we need to be a little bit more flexible into what we are willing to tolerate. Because I think on the left, we've been sitting around hand-wringing, we've been sitting around whining about this word or that word, and I just don't think it has been helpful to the movement. And so I think we need to be a little bit more flexible on these types of issues. Obviously, Destiny went really hard after the Texas floods. I'm not sure that I would necessarily go that hard, but he is reaching out to a new swath of voters that feel like the Democratic Party has left him behind. And if you've watched any amount of Destiny's content, you know he aligns mostly with the Democratic values and the progressive principles that we like to hold. And he just has a different way of reaching out to these young voters. And instead of just throwing him away like he is a piece of bubble gum off the bench, I think we should allow these types of people to go out and reach into these communities, because that is one of the only ways that we can win elections. Like I said, a lot of people just sat home in 2024. A lot of these young voters swung towards Donald Trump like we have never seen before. Now, obviously, he has lost a lot of that support now that he is in office, and he is absolutely trashing the country as the most corrupt president that we've ever seen. But I think we have to employ some of their strategies. I think we need to be a little bit hyperbolic. I think we need to be a little bit more brutal. I think we need to allow these, edgy jokes, because that is reaching out to voters who the Democratic Party really needs to take back into the fold. So if you guys want to get involved in this type of movement, or if you want to donate to the cause of the Unfuck America Tour, it is unfuckamericatour.com. Like I said, I think this is smart. I think it's strategic. I think it's what is needed in this time. I think that we need to come together and fund organizations like this that can go out and reach young voters where they are. That is the most important part here. We can follow Charlie Kirk around the country. We can provide an alternative vision for what this country is supposed to be. Instead of letting Charlie go out there and run roughshod over these young minds, just poisoning them with this fascistic nonsense. So, really like what the Unfuck America Tour is doing here, guys. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think this is a worthy effort? Do you think it's a waste of time to follow Charlie Kirk around the country and hold these types of debates? Where are you guys at on this? Do you think we need to lighten up on the purity testing a little bit and the rhetoric and all of that? What do you guys think? I want to know what you guys think. But unfuckamericatour.com if you guys want to donate to the cause as we fight back against this authoritarian machine. Unfuckamericatour.com. So I will leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I very much appreciate that. We are trying to build something here on the left that pushes back against the Charlie Kirks of the world, against the Turning Point USAs of the world. So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to smash that subscribe button. Of course, that is free. If you want to go a step above and beyond that, we have opened up memberships here on YouTube for as little as $3 a month. And we've also done the Substack thing over at politiscape.substack.com. And over on that platform, I actually own the data. So definitely prefer people sign up over there if you want to help me produce these videos. But like I will keep on saying, guys, pushing back against this MAGA media machine, it has got to be a team effort. I'll see you guys on the next one.